Today on Weenie and Me, Kytheon, hero of Akros. Kytheon is one of the most unusual creatures from Magic Origins and from Magic the Gathering in general because there's not very many creatures that are one casting cost legendary. In fact, even Rise of the Redeemed is one of the lower cost ones at green and white, but you could also go with perhaps Bushy Tenderfoot, which became Kenzo the Hard-Hearted, or even Mikaeus, who has an X cost, technically counts as a greater mana cost of 1. But even Isamaru, Hound of Kanda, it's just a legendary creature with 1 casting cost. That's all it's really there for. But while the Hound of Kanda actually has an extra toughness point at 2/2, Gideon has extra abilities that make it a much, much more powerful legendary creature. For example, just at the bottom here, it has the ability to become indestructible for 2 and 1 white. That effect allows Gideon to survive most damage dealing, survive Day of Judgment, even Wrath of God originally, and makes Gideon one of the more powerful cards at 1 casting cost and a legendary creature. You could build a tiny leader deck or even a commander deck around Gideon. But it's this first ability at the top that actually makes him even more powerful. See, you have to be able to attack with him and 2 other creatures, and then at the end of that combat, if he and at least 2 other creatures attacked, you exile Gideon and return him to the battlefield transformed as Gideon, Battle Forged. And it's more than just a name change, because Gideon Battle Forged has so many extra abilities. I mean, above and beyond just being a 2/1 legendary creature, Gideon has combat abilities, has the ability to protect creatures, protecting you, etc. In fact, the first roll-up ability is for +2, making him essentially 5 loyalty. Up to 1 target creature an opponent controls attacks Gideon Battleforged during its controller's next turn, if able. This is a nice way to protect, but also because you can force a creature to attack and then block that creature with as many creatures as you need to kill that creature. So Gideon's first roll-up it's literally, fight me, Scrublord, I'm flipped. But it just, it allows you to thin out your opponent's ranks. That middle ability, though, the +1 until your next turn, target creature gains indestructible and untap that creature. It lasts during your turn and your opponent's turn and all the way back till your next turn. So you can do this before combat. You can do this on a creature. Well, you'd want to do it after combat because you can untap it. But this protects Gideon in case you really need it. Say if you have a flying creature, you give it indestructible, you untap it, and that keeps it from getting through combat to destroy Gideon or to hurt you. And again, now I need to stop and talk a little bit about how combat effects work with Gideon. See, Kytheon, hero of Akros, he needs 2 other creatures to attack with him. That doesn't work with effects like Launch the Fleet, or even if you attack with Kytheon and Brimaz, putting out another token, a cat token that's also attacking. It didn't actually happen as an attacking creature. It wasn't declared as an attacker, so that doesn't work. You have to have 2 other creatures attacking with Kytheon. And that could be a deal breaker, but you can play him with 0 casting cost artifacts like Ornithopter or Memnite or Phyrexian Walker. Well, now you could even play a Hangerback Walker and Leyline of Vitality to pump up its toughness and put it out for 0 if you ever needed to. There's a lot of options that you could do. You could even play a 1 casting cost type of artifact creature, just drop out a Lotus Petal and cast Kytheon with that Lotus Petal's effect. But Gideon Battleforged has another combat trick. See, not only is he able to outdo the ranks of Bushy Tenderfoot Kenzo the Hard-Hearted, because Kenzo starts off as a 1/1 and becomes a 3/4, but Gideon becomes a 4/4 human soldier creature with indestructible, and he prevents all damage dealt to him that turn, making him one of the highest power toughness creatures in Magic the Gathering history for just 1 mana. Now, granted, I'm applying both sides of the card to this, but that's there's a lot of really cool effects you can do with Gideon. In addition, notice this one clause here, prevent all damage that would be dealt to him this turn. The reason for this is because when Gideon is a creature, combat damage still removes loyalty counters because he still counts as a Planeswalker card. So, being able to prevent the damage that would be dealt to him also is very useful. That if he were to be lightning bolted or anything that would happen after or during combat, that protects him from combat damage, even damage that's not dealt by creatures, because you activate the ability. Which is another thing to think about when you have effects like Chain Veil. See, You can use Gideon's ability to turn him into a creature, and then use Chain Veil's effect to roll up the +1 and target himself and give him indestructible. Now, that means that a destroy effect doesn't hit him on your opponent's turns. Let's say your opponent has some sort of a effect like, I don't know, anything that destroys all permanents, or destroys target planeswalker, destroys all planeswalker, that effect would fizzle. The damage would still happen, but that's a neat little interaction you can use with Chain Veil. And, yeah, being able to just keep Gideon in battle on your side is very, very powerful. And that's why he's the subject of today's Weenie Envy. Kytheon, Hero of Akros, and Gideon, Battle Forged. Now, the rest of this week, I'm actually going to look at all 6 legendary creatures with converted mana costs 3 mana or less that were printed in Magic Origins, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how all their abilities work. And I'm hoping that this will inspire you to build perhaps tiny leaders or commander decks around them, starting off with the Wooburg pattern of white mana. Tomorrow will be Jace. The day after that will be Liliana, and so on and so forth. And I hope, this is something that you enjoy, and I hope you're having a wonderful morning, a wonderful afternoon, and or a wonderful evening, and I hope tomorrow is even better. Take care, everyone.